That's right. We're ending the show at the beginning of the show.
Whoopsie. Gosh darn it. I hit the wrong button again.
Extended mix.
Extended mix. Thanks for sticking around for 10 seconds longer from the original opening. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the CrossFit Games. Fuck.
Dude.
I told you I've got
Bam, I'm live. What's up? What are we talking about?
I'm Chase Ingram. I have Bill Grundler.
Captain America.
How's that? Oh, happy
And we're
Tuesday.
off.
You can tell we haven't been on the YouTubes for about a week, but here we are. Here we are. Thank you. Yes, Stefan. Thank God you're here to just keep us on track. Keep us on track. Welcome everybody to Get With the Programming. We are going to talk. I'm a big fan of Venn diagrams. I don't know about you, and I'm being serious.
I'm actually not.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way? What do you not like about them?
I think that it's a way oversimplification of what you're trying to look at. I mean, I understand the connection that it's trying to draw, but and like we get into this one, I think that it's if I was to look at what CrossFit is in this particular diagram, that little object of CrossFit right in the middle, I think is completely ridiculously small for what we're looking for when we're trying to find the CrossFit Games. So that I just think it's I understand what it is, but I'm not a big fan of it because I think it's a kind of a watered down version of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I would say from big picture topics and discussion and like overview, like I like Venn diagrams from a macro,
very macro,
way oversimplification, which I also believe is regardless, when we get into filling these monostructural gymnastics weightlifting elements in with the Venn diagram, the games team. And again, this is just a fun graphic. This is a fun graphic they're using to paint a picture of what's going to come in a week from now. Dude, the CrossFit Games starts in a week.
This is so crazy.
A week on Tuesday, age group and adaptive go.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Nuts. But that being said, we're going to talk about this as they've been filling in over the last week or so, which has been exciting and fun and cool. And I like what they're doing here. But I would say is like macro view, I like it because it shows how things can work together, whether it's pick anything you want in a Venn diagram format and shows how things can work together. I like that. It's I find them interesting. Sometimes they'll be like like different personality traits put into it.
I've seen those ones.
Right? And you can put names to the people that's two of these or one of these. Like I think they're fun. I think this, I would say, nothing more than really promotional material to get people excited about the CrossFit Games from a macro view. But at the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to dig into what's already been released, details that we have, details that we don't have, things we have questions about, and possibly concerns.
Yeah.
As we work our way through this and why, from a macro view, this could be something that that would be interesting from, I would say, the casual fan and maybe novice programmer. I don't know what do you think about that from a macro side? Not definitely not a micro.
Macro, I think what it does is it, if you're a programmer, if you're talking like on the programming side, if you're at your affiliate, you're just trying to design, different workouts or a program for your person, your individual, yourself, or your gym. What I think it serves as is a good reminder to include all of those things and show that they can integrate, with each other. I think that that's kind of nice to see. So it gives you, kind of a beacon of light out there. So you can say like, hey, I need to make sure that I've got some gymnastic stuff, that I have some weightlifting, that I have some monostructural movements and elements in there to make a good CrossFit, because that's what we should be doing. Again, I think like with this particular one, if I was talking to a programmer, what I would want is the circles closer together, so that you have a bigger CrossFit in the middle rather than just a little spick in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. But I think it's cool to have, that's your beacon. That's what you're shooting for out there. So you see the pieces out there.
Yeah. And actually, that's a very good point, because though we may have some single modality tests that are coming to the CrossFit Games in a week. We know 5K has been announced. We know a only total in quotes have been announced, and some type of skills test has also been announced. 2 of the 3 with much more detail than 1. But I do like what you say is like, okay, let's push these circles in together more. So instead of the sliver being CrossFit, which is the cross section of all 3 modalities combined, is that the small slivers are the single modality tests themselves, where the big middle part would grow. That's what you'd like to see as a more accurate depiction of programming at the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's totally fair.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I really like that. Okay. For those guys that are not watching us on YouTube and you're listening, is that we're going through the CrossFit Games Instagram page, where they've been releasing some hints and details of tests that are coming there in the next week, and how they fit those together, which, like I said, I have enjoyed. But we'll go through bit by bit of what they have released. I know we talked last week of, what our predictions are for Helen. We won't go back into that. The thing that we don't know about Helen itself is when that is going to be happening. Individuals that we know of, schedule-wise, that's on games.crossfit.com, are competing from Thursday, August 3rd through Sunday, August 6th. At August 4th, which would be Friday, so Thursday, Friday, all 40 athletes will be competing. They'll cut to 30 for Saturday, which right now we have 2 tests on the schedule. So we know that Saturday there will be a 5K run. We know that Saturday there will be the Olympic total, which is a 1 rep max snatch and a 1 rep max clean and jerk. And then whatever happens else during this day, whether there is or isn't something else programmed, we're cutting to 20 after this day. So the only 2 events that we know of with detail are the 5K and the total, and we know those will be on Saturday. They haven't announced Helen. They haven't said when it's going to be or what it's going to be. They have said like a skills gymnastic test or a skills test?
Well, they said skills. They said skills. What they put in the video were handstand walks and the P bars and things like that. So they had that. So gymnastic skills. So that's why with the Venn diagram, that's the other element over there. So.
And with the Venn diagram itself, as we said before, and this is the final piece of the puzzle as they had set up, as we have been talking about, is the main circles, the 3 main modalities that we always talk about when programming CrossFit. Monostructural, which is basically like repetitive cyclical movement that you can do for extended periods of time. Things like running, rowing, biking, swimming. Double unders are put in that category specifically. The other is which would be relative to the 5K that they have programmed. The other is weightlifting, and that's as simple as moving an external load. Simple as that. Externally loaded weight, whether it's barbell, dumbbell, kettlebell, med ball. I mean, sled pushes, I think, fall into a weightlifting category by definition. I think that tricky one came, I can't remember who, it might have been
in our chat.
Yeah, it was just wearing a weight vest count, like running in a weight vest. Is that technically weightlifting or a ruck, or gymnastics with a weight vest or a ruck? Like how do you look at that?
I
think there's
I think it be
rules before we even preface like
right. I think it's like, okay, what is the intended stimulus of that particular thing that you're trying to do? Like if you're doing Murph and you're doing pull-ups with a weight vest on, I still see that as you're doing pull-ups, because you're doing a lot of pull-ups with that vest on. So it's not about the weight. But if we were doing a 1 rep max weighted pull-up, then to me that now has ventured into the realm of weightlifting, because it's how much weight. What's important is like how much weight can you move, right? Not how many of the gymnastic things can you do. Yeah. So I think it kind of, and that's a, I can't tell you where the line is drawn, because it's a wide line, and I don't know where that is. But it's kind of like, if you're talking about like pornography, what's offensive, but there's a lot of what's not. Like might be offensive, maybe not. It's kind of ride the line.
And there's NC-17,
right? So yeah.
I think it's fair. Just for my personal view, is like a weight vest or a ruck strapped and connected to your body does not qualify it to be anything different than what you're doing at the time, right?
Yeah.
You're strapped in with a vest and a ruck, and you're doing max bar muscle ups. That's a gymnastics test.
Yep.
If you're doing a run with that, that's a monostructural test. Even though there is weight connected to you, you're not actually externally moving that weight with your body. Versus, I would say, is like, how would you look at maybe a sandbag carry as part of that? I think that's you moving an external load for a distance, which I would go back into a weightlifting category.
Yeah, because the intent is you're going to be moving a big sandbag a distance, and or for speed or whatever it is you're trying to do. But it's about the size of that bag. If it's a light bag, it's going to be on your back. It's going to be a ruck, and that'll fall right back into what you're talking about. And I don't think that. And I think Barclay he has it up here, and I agree with this comment that he has up is just because you have a weight on you, it's just making it a more difficult element that you're trying to do. So it's still monostructural. We're just trying to make it a harder monostructural now. That's all.
Yeah.
But it's like that's not about the movement of the external load necessarily.
Yeah. So for example, me with a 20-pound weight vest running a 5K, I believe, is a monostructural test with a weight vest on, versus take this 100-pound sandbag and move it 5K as an external, right?
Yeah, totally.
Well, you can argue it's the same thing, just different weights, different ways. I still think it's like you're taking this object and you're moving it 5K, whereas the other one is you're moving yourself 5K with some extra weight on your body. Even though I get you can argue it the same way using the same words.
Totally. That's what I mean. Like where that line goes, it's like you can't say to what pounds that line switches, but I think it's what's the intent. And if the intent is, okay, we're going to give you something heavy to move.
That's a good one, Golf Foxtrot Yankee.
That's true. All right.
I like it. You can't drop a vest. You can't drop a barbell, a bag, or anything else. Like, yeah, an external load not connected to the body. That's good.
Oh, okay. I like that too. That's a good one.
John, whether you wore a vest or not, I'm pretty sure you're still running a 5K with an extra 20 pounds on your body.
Have you seen the size? Dude, John is big. John, you're a big dude. Every time I see your videos, like I'm so used to seeing his little face on the screen. I'm like, oh, there's John Young. Look, cute little John Young out there doing his thing. And then I watch him doing the workouts and I'm like, damn, Quadzilla guns aplenty over here, like all jacked up. I'm like, geez.
Yeah, that boy.
Okay. Big.
Strong.
Big dude.
Strong. All right. So that's the base premise of this, but I want to talk to you specifically about how some of these things are being implemented. Like we said earlier, is that we already know, per the announcement, that the basically third component of this Venn diagram, which was gymnastics, is being filled in with gymnastics skills. And it says individual athletes competing at 2023 Noble CrossFit Games will compete a gymnastics skills test. Full day details will be released during Games Week. Different than the 5K and the Olympic total is that not only do we not have details of what the skills test is going to be, we don't know when the skills test is going to be. When you see this at first, knowing is like, okay, we have the 2 single tests here on Saturday. When would you actually like to see? Well, I have a couple of questions. First one is, when would you like to see this implemented in the weekend?
The same day as the other 2 on that Saturday. That's what I would say.
Okay, why would you like to see basically 3 single modality tests on a Saturday before we cut to 20?
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is because I'm hoping that we would have done a majority or a good amount of other events before we get into that specialist setup. And we always said that before you do a cut, you need to make sure you checked all the boxes before you make that cut. And so I would try to line those things up as best I could.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got to tell you honestly, like I'm not a fan of what it is. And I know we're going to go over the different pieces, so we can do that as we're kind of getting into those different events. But is that the same? Are we talking the same thing? Event 8, me and John?
Yes, I believe.
on that Saturday?
I don't know if they've given event numbers yet let me check. So we have Olympic weightlifting, individual age group, adaptive athletes, top 10 around the world. I don't think there are any numbers. I don't think we know how many events are going to be on those days. As you see on the schedule right now, TBA on Thursday, Friday, 2 events listed on Saturday, nothing on Sunday. Okay, so they said event 7. All right, so if the 5K is event 7 and right now it's listed, could be in order, could be not. Olympic total, yeah. So I guess if that is in the middle of them, as John is saying, let's see where that is. But yes, I mean, you guys are arguing that you would like to see it on Saturday after the cut to 30 with whatever number of tests we had
Right.
after the first 2 days of competition. Now, what do you like about that concept of having a single modality? I mean, we've said this in the past too, is like, if you're going to program one single modality, it better be balanced out with 3 other ones.
Right. And again, the fact that they are planning on having it that way, generally I like. I'm a little concerned with the fact that one is a skills test, one is a true monostructural modality, and another one is a weird version of a strength test. Like, to me, if you're looking for your ultimate speed for the 5K,
okay,
and you're giving them the opportunity to showcase their speed in that 5K, why wouldn't you do the lifting event where you allow them to showcase their max level of strength? Like, we know that if you're doing an Olympic lifting competition, which now most of our CrossFitters, whether you're in the regular gym or you're a competitive CrossFitter, you do clean and jerks and you do snatches and you understand what that competition looks like, where you have 3 lifts to get your top lift. Why limit it to 2 on that? So it seems to me that, like, the lifting now, and I know that I'm assuming you're going to add it all up, and so you have your total, your Olympic lifting total, put them all together. But why not let them truly swing for the fences on those lifts in a way that we're traditionally used to doing so? So that, to me, it seems like all of a sudden it's different now. They're not able to get their true strength shown with that. It's almost like, what can you lift cold is almost what that kind of ends up.
Yes. And we've seen that in the past before. I know we talked, what was it, maybe the 2012, no, not the regionals, 2012. What was the regional? 2014 regional, where there was like a couple attempts of the hang snatch into the handstand walk.
Right.
And things of that nature. And we've seen 2 lifts or 2 attempts in previous years. I think 2017, there was a snatch ladder that you had 2 attempts. And then if you made the top 10, you got 2 more.
Right.
And when you look at that, actually, we've seen this a few times come up. And for those that understand, is like Olympic weightlifting meet, you get 3 attempts at snatch and you get 3 attempts at clean and jerk. You pick a weight, you can't go down from that weight, whether you miss it or not. And you get 1 chance, right? Like, once you say you're ready, I think a clock starts, it might be around 90 seconds. You must complete the lift within that 90 seconds. And regardless of like press out rules, we'll just take that off the table because we're doing CrossFit right now, is you get 1 shot. Where in the past you've seen, you get a 20-second clock. If you can try it 2 or 3 times in that 20-second clock, so be it. What would you, in your scenario, king for a day, this event's program, it's Olympic total, what exactly would you like this event to be as far as numbers of attempts, types of attempts, time frame? What do you think would be best way to score and implement this event?
I mean, if we're trying to make it like Olympic lifting and we're gonna try to showcase it that way, then I would go with the 3 lifts. The other way that I would choose to do it is I would say, okay, you have 4 or 5 minutes on each lift, and you get whatever one you can hit. Because to me, we're looking for, since we've looked at the Venn diagram and we're talking about, we got our monostructural, we have our weightlifting, we have our gymnastics. Here we are on our weightlifting. Then let the weightlifting showcase what the weightlifting is supposed to do. Like, we're looking for max weight. We did this already in the semis with your run into your max snatch. And in that, you had time to kind of build up to that. But none of those weights that we would have seen would have only been done in 2 attempts. So now what we're doing is we're not getting we're not squeezing all the juice out of that weightlifting event, which I think that we should. If we're going to have if we're going for the 3 spots like that, then do it to what it's supposed to be done, which is let them go heavy, but give them the chance to do it either with three lifts as Olympic lifting would be, or give them a specific time frame of 4 minutes and 4 minutes, and you go right from one to the other or whatever, so that they're out there for 8 minutes total, 10 minutes, whatever.
Yep.
That's what I would do.
I like that. Looking at the leaderboard, someone had posted about this. Right now they have 12 columns. And yes, you're right. The cross-country 5K is in, I love how they have workouts on the leaderboard, even though we want to call them events. They're going to make us say tests. So it's all 3. Workout 8 and then Olympic total.
So workout 8 is going to be gymnastics skills test.
All right. Follow-up question on the skills test specifically. And we can say skills test because they're testing skills, as it has been announced. We don't know 2 things: when it's going to be and what it's going to be. So I know you just answered it, but I'll ask you again. When do you think this skills gymnastics test should be put in the weekend, and why?
Event 8, because on that last day, if I would have seen CrossFit-ish type events the 2 days before, and then you make your first cut. Then before you cut down to your last 20, you're taking your specialized individual tests like these. And then you get your 10 or your 20 from there. But they should all be together, and these things should be at the last chance. We want to make sure you've tested everything to get your top 20 into the last day. So I think it should all be on that Saturday.
Okay. Second question: what do you think it should be? Because I've heard a lot of, the first things I always heard of was like 30 muscle ups for time, 30 bar muscle ups for time, put them all together, right? Our Samantha Briggs challenge that we put out a couple months ago.
Right.
And I keep hearing, I was like, pull. I was like, we do remember gymnastics is just moving your body in space independent of weight. Unless we go back to our weightlifting weight vest thing, but moving your body in space, that's gymnastics. Burpees, box jumps, GHD sit-ups, toes to bar, push-ups, handstand push-ups, pistols, all of that is considered the gymnastics column. What do you think it could be based off what we've seen in the past, or what do you think it should be going into this coming week?
Well, because they're specifically naming it a skills event, I think that what they're going to do is not have it. I was listening to JR when he was talking about this, JR Howe, and the fact that there's one monostructural element, then there's 2 weightlifting, that we get 2 lifts. So you're probably going to do like a third, like this one, it's the third piece, and so you have 3 pieces.
When he said, I was like, that was good.
I was like, yeah, I like that. I like what they're trying to do with that. However, when I started thinking of that, I was like, okay, here's what's going to end up happening. It's going to be max reps of this, max reps of this, max time of this. So I was thinking it would be max L sit. It's going to be max either ring muscle ups, and I would say probably ring muscle ups over bar muscle ups. Oh shit, maybe 100 burpees for time. It's in there. I could see that. I was gonna say like max deficit handstand push-ups, since that's kind of the handstand thing that we would use, or even a max distance handstand walk where you have to turn at every 15 feet or 20 feet or whatever it is you want to do on that. So we're putting the pirouette in that, as you go.
Jake Sheridan said G.I. Jane, a little callback from the Open.
I like that. I like what that is, but I think that because we already did that, I don't think that they would put that in there. But that's the way I see that. And I like
Well, and I like this point too. Is who just said this? And you're right. Cave Dastro wouldn't really call it a skill, and you're right. Like maybe like let's highlight the skill word, gymnastics skills test. Okay, so let's take out the ones that are basically not really high skilled movements. Like I would say push-ups, air squats, and sit-ups are probably off the table for the skills challenge.
Well, okay, but the last time we did a skills test, skills 1 and 2, we did broad jumps, we did throwing a softball, we did weighted pull-ups.
Like UMG for each skills triplet set. But this again, this calls specifically to gymnastics skills.
Yeah. So like, to me, like I would see L-sit is how long can you hold it for?
Okay. I would consider that a skills test versus basically a gymnastic capacity. So when I see 100 burpees for time, I see a capacity.
That right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I would agree with that. But if you were doing ring muscle ups, would you see that as a capacity test, or would you see that as a skills test? Max, unbroken ring muscle ups.
That's a good question.
I mean, I think I would put that in the realm.
I mean, that falls in the realm of max rep, clean and jerk and snatch, and
right
for a 5K. It's your capacity to do a certain skill better than everyone else. Right. So I would say yes, that does fall into the category. Also because the element of difficulty of the ring muscle up for those number of reps.
And the if they do the three test or the 3 skills test, a la JR on this one. I honestly think that they're going to be 3 very kind of mundane-ish setups. Like they're going to be, because you would never see this by itself. I don't think you would see at the CrossFit Games, even if it was max ring muscle ups. I don't think that would be an event. But when you're going to put them all together like this, I can very easily see an L-sit, ring muscle up.
So now you're calling back the skills test from 2011, where it's the 3 components scored independently and then totaled at the end. And you said that JR said as like maybe it's going to be 3 different gymnastic plane modality of movements. Like we said, push, pull, squat, skill things, or L-sit, as you said, combined into one total score.
Yeah. It's, I mean, there are a lot of ways you could go with it, obviously. And, I think that's what everyone's having so much fun doing is thinking of all of the things.
God, it is fun, isn't it?
I mean, well, because all of a sudden your initial is like, it's probably going to be this or this. And then all of a sudden, well, it could be, and then it could be. And then all of a sudden you have literally a list of like 20 of each of the different ideas or choices it could be, I don't think it'll be anything cool. I don't think it'll be anything cool like the pegboard, honestly. I think it'll be 3 very basic things. We've been talking L-sit for ever and ever and ever. That's always been in there. That's in the OG stuff. That's going to be there, guaranteed.
Like you say basic it isn't a negative.
No.
Like what's more basic of a lifting test than a snatch and a clean and jerk is one of the oldest competitions as far as showcasing strength, power, and speed there is. That is a very basic movement, right? Sandbag ladder, unconventional movement, snatch, clean, and jerk. How many times have we seen that tested at the CrossFit Games?
Right. And same thing with like the 5K run. You just run like
well, yeah. I mean, talk about the most basic programmed workout on .com in history since 2001 is a 5K run. Oddly enough, it's also the most common programmed event at the CrossFit Games, known as a trail run, that we've had 5 times now.
Yeah.
2007 we had a trail run. 2009 we had a trail run. 2006, 2013. 16. They went back to Aromas.
Yeah, they went back.
Trail run.
Yep.
In 2020 we had a trail run. In 2000. We had a ruck run into 2020.
That's right.
2019. I mean, talk about the most programmed event ever at the CrossFit Games, not necessarily negative, but a concept of, I think some people devalue running on a distance scale, but
Well, obviously our competitive element doesn't, because we put it in there so much.
right.
Do you think we should be there? I mean, they could have, if you could have picked another monostructural, like 5K of anything. I mean, if 5K is the most programmed thing on .com, if it is the most redone event in the CrossFit Games, why do we keep doing it?
I don't know. Maybe because the basic premise when we look at fitness as a whole of how important distance running and that time frame is to the training that we do. I mean, it is the most basic level, like instinctual thing human beings have done since the beginning of time, is their ability to, oddly enough, move large loads long distances. Quickly or not quickly, but like that's where we came from. The ability to run is just like innate. It's probably one of the most primal fit things we can do as humans, is the ability to run. So to test that and showcase we have the ability to that, I see the importance there. To answer the question you had of what would you rather see, is like, I don't know, man. Like, we've seen the half marathon row with the 2K bind. We've seen the marathon row in total. We've done distance swimming multiple times in the lake. We've done paddle boarding. We've done kayaking. I mean, maybe we haven't just done a straight, and that's where I'm
foot
getting
race. Yeah.
4 trail runs that we had at Aromas are in Aromas, and that is all but just running.
Right.
The last time we did something over a 4K where it was just running involved a ruck, and it got heavier every 1,000 meters. We have never done a straight up pure 5K at the CrossFit Games. We've done run, swim, run. It was 1.5 miles and a swim and 1.5 miles. Like, we've gotten close. We've touched around, but the pure 5K run we haven't done.
Yeah, it's true.
And so in its nature is that, we talk all the time about, especially last year, it's like, oh, look at this wall-facing handstand push-up callback. How OG is that? Look at this cross under, and Buddy Lee's been doing that shit with us for the last 10 to 12 years. What have you been doing? Look at these ring muscle-ups and pegboards, and we talk about all this OG stuff. Is like, why can't we just say, hey, how OG is a 5K run? It's about as OG as you can possibly get when it comes to CrossFit training methodology. So maybe, that's why. Maybe that is the callback that we're just blowing over entirely.
Well, okay, but the hard part is that, like, I'm not disputing that, and I do like the very simplistic, very OG feel of that. But then we did also see that they brought the bike back out too.
True.
So the last time we saw that bike, that was on the cyclocross, right? Which was it wasn't the crit race, obviously. But it was a longer event too, where they were riding, having to get off of things and pushing. There's some hills on there, and there's some sand, and there's other stuff that they're having to work their way through. So, yeah,
now that's a good point, because so let's look at cycling at the CrossFit Games. The very first time was Camp Pendleton,
right?
Back in
with some ugly bikes.
This is terrible.
I was like, why didn't you guys put like the little card in there with the little thing when they're riding?
$30 a piece. Yeah, we'll take those. And then I don't think we really had it again until, was it the crit in 2018? When was cyclocross? Is that 2017?
17.
Okay, so we had cyclocross.
Yeah. Then the crit.
They did at the dog park fields. And then we had cyclocross, which is road bikes, the next year. 2019, no. 2020, yes. But it was 5 people. That was the biking. I also got that wrong when I said there'd be multiple rounds of biking.
Right.
They're like, oh, this one. I was like, yeah, I forgot about that one. But it's basically the legless rope climb, 10 rounds for time.
Oh, that one. That's right.
Instead of a shuttle.
Everyone, where we put the best athletes in the world climbing up a rope with a helmet on. That's
right.
So silly.
2021, no. 2022, we had bike to work, which was the 5.
Down the toes to bar.
Toes to bar, 5 laps, chest to bar, 5 laps, or 4, depending on if your last name
or
is
6.
Or 6 if you're
if you're from Korea.
And yeah, we don't know what this event is going to be. We know that based off CrossFit's announcement, it says individuals and teams get ready to race at the Noble CrossFit Games. During the test, athletes will ride Trek Bike Marlin 8 mountain bike featured in the photo. And Trek bikes will also be available for purchase on site.
There you go.
I might get 2 of those and take them home. As my wife and I are looking to get some bikes.
Those would be cool.
Okay, so this is another announcement that we've had is the biking. And as far as biking is concerned, we've done a lot of different things with the bike.
Yeah, and I mean, I tend to think that they would do some sort of cyclocross sort of setup with it again. But at the same time, it's making me think like, okay, if we're really diving deep into the monostructural with the 5K run, then they're going to want to tweak the bike somehow. Because otherwise, if you have straight monostructural, that might be a little. I don't know. I don't know if that would play. I don't know if they would let that go like that. They would do something else in with the bike, I think.
Yeah.
But it was one of the. I saw that and I was like, okay, so are we going monostructural on that then too, like the cyclocross, or how's that going to be run? So that made me think about that. But again, I do like the idea. I wasn't a fan just because to me it's boring. But I think the same thing when it's programmed, when the 5K is programmed on the main side. It's like, oh, that's boring.
Yeah.
Or if I was going to drop into a gym somewhere and I saw 5K and that's what the workout was, I'm like, yeah, I'll work out in the hotel.
You're like, I can do that anytime I want. I want to do something fresh.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
But I understand the idea of bringing it in and it being as OG as possible, and as it's something that isn't messed with. You don't have a vest, you don't have a ruck. I mean, they're saying trail run. I hope that it's like a flat cross country course.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping, just to make them run.
Just like a distance.
Yeah, like I want to see how fast you can go 5K.
Yeah.
There are hills, and are you good at hills and not hills? And so.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. It's like, did you see Hopper held 420 watts for 20 minutes on the bike erg? I don't have a concept of how crazy that is, but it sounds batshit insane.
It sounds gross. I couldn't even.
I'm curious to see what the bike event, but that brings us back to really the schedule again. Is okay. We have 3 announcements of particular events: Helen, gymnastic skills, and whatever this bike event, that are not listed
right
on the event schedule for the individuals. Still, we have the only 2 things on there are cross country 5K on Saturday and Olympic total on Saturday.
I think that's honestly because it's announced that way because of the way that the cut was announced in 2019. That's that sprint where there were certain things that weren't done. So I think, how like they made a big deal about like, we're letting all the athletes know that they're going to be cuts. So they're ready for it, even though it doesn't matter if they know that it's coming or not, because they don't know what they have to deal with. So they haven't really said anything other than they're going to be cuts.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of talk about how the events that happened before the cut weren't appropriate events to be done before the cut. So I think now what this is showing is, hey, okay, we're stacking those specialist type events right here before the big cut. So you've got days before on the other things. So that means you better be on your game and you better be kicking ass so that you can get to those last 3 tests and make the final cut.
Okay.
So if we're going to CrossFit you, that's what I mean about that Venn diagram. The CrossFit piece is so little. That should be grown a lot, because in reality, the monostructural piece, the 5K, the Olympic total, the weightlifting, and then whatever the gymnastic skills test, those are basically going to be slivers on the outside. So if we grew that CrossFit out in the middle, that's the first 2 days right there, I think, is that CrossFit chunk. That Saturday is going to be your Venn diagram, your 3 pieces, your run, your gymnastic skills test, and your Olympic lifting. And then after that, then I think it's like, okay, now hopefully with your top 20,
Yeah.
you can do some crazy fun, test your fitness, all the fitness, all
Oh,
the
okay.
elements of
So
fitness as you get into the
here's
last day, because you would have already done your stuff.
here's another question. This goes along with the reasons of why Dave Castro explained how he likes the cuts, and their reason for doing so is, okay, we have a bike event somewhere. We have Helen somewhere. We have a gymnastic skills test somewhere. You are hoping it's on Saturday,
Yes.
that it's those 3 isolated skills, single modality tests.
Yep.
After a cut to 30. You're hoping the first 6 events, whether it's 4 and 2 or 3 and 3, the leaderboard shows 12. So that's what we're going off of. So assuming it's 3 per day. We know it's 3. Well, we don't know. I guess we assume it's 3 on Saturday based off what the leaderboard says.
Right.
Right. Those first 6 tests would be, what would you like those to be? Those 6 tests to cut the first 10 moving into Saturday, categorically.
Generally speaking, just very CrossFitty. Nothing like way out of the norm, type of deal. Like there, how we said that there were a lot of really good events in the semis. Those really good events, like those should be like the games one. And maybe you can up them up a little bit, whatever, to increase the weight on certain things or increase the capacity on other things, but make it be very CrossFitty, because what I would be looking at is you have your 40 athletes there. And we talked about this, about when we should make the cuts. Like, why not just cut to 20 then? I mean, in the semis, so you have less people, so you can have everybody do the whole same thing. Well, since we're making our cuts, those first 2 days are to really showcase CrossFit fitness, all of the things. And then those that really push to the top now have a little bit of buffering against the specialists that go into those 3 events on that next cut day. And so hopefully they've been able to do enough to kind of get themselves through, so that now that they can compete on that last day in the top 20 and hopefully push themselves up in the top 10 or the podium or wherever.
Okay. Wad Zombie, they need to cuts to make room for the final stage. Mount Midoriyama. That'll be awesome. Ian Beaver, $20. Thanks, bro.
Dude, thanks, sir.
Bro. That's awesome. Appreciate you guys. He says, "What's up, brothers? Giving up my Savan budget for you guys in the afternoon. Thank you." Speaking of Savan,
that's cool.
Big day tomorrow on the CrossFit Games podcast.
I just want to know how you're going to open it up.
I am hosting Savan on the CrossFit Games podcast tomorrow. And we will be going live. If you guys don't know where that is, you just YouTube, go to CrossFit Podcasts. We'll put it in the chat here. 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Central, and however else you want to do your conversions. I always have a stupid time of saying everything, and I don't need to, assuming everybody's figured it out. But yeah, Savan's coming on. We're going to talk the official release and announcement that Savan will be coming to Madison, Wisconsin with Mariah Moore, and I believe a slew of others helping them out. I've heard Hiller, Beaver, Souza, others will be present, about covering or bringing back the behind the scenes at the CrossFit Games again.
Dude, I think that's one, it's unreal. I think it's going to be super cool. 2, I was cracking up when I was listening to a show the other day, and I think Souza was asking him if he's been walking around with like a weight vest on, just getting used to carrying the camera and all of his gear, making sure he's ready to go. And he's like, yeah, I was wearing the 16-pound vest the other day, just trying to get myself going. And,
that's funny.
But because he he wears, and it's cool because the firefighters, like, you have your suspenders.
Yeah.
But I had a pair of leather ones, and like when you were like in it, you have your leathers and your leather radio strap or whatever. And he has leather holders for his cameras and stuff when he's like whipping his cameras around, like he's whipping. Like, yeah. So I think it's so cool to see him back there. But dude, he has never been on a show, at least that I've seen, where he was the one being interviewed.
Didn't he do one with Coffee Pods and Wads? a few months ago?
If he did, I
I don't
missed that
remember. I
one.
know he said specifically he hates it.
Well, yeah, because he's not in control. Of course he hates it. He doesn't get to take. And I want to, dude. I'm gonna be watching like this, tapping my fingers to see if you're gonna be able to control the beast that is Sevon.
We've had a couple phone calls leading up to it, and I was like, "You got to."
Hey, man, please don't ask me about.
I don't want to hear about 49ers. I don't want to hear about, nothing political. I was like, this could be the best podcast I ever do, and it also could be the last podcast I ever do.
I think it'll be great. I think it'll be great.
It's going to be good. We're going to talk about all things behind the scenes. We're going to talk about what it was in the past from 2011 to 2017, games, regionals. I know Stefan made a comment. I hope it's more than individuals. It has been. It's always been everyone at the CrossFit Games. If he's around, he's talking to you.
Well, and that's what's important this year, because they aren't like they're not going to have the same amount of coverage as they've had in the past. So that behind the scenes stuff is going to be massive because everyone wants to see what's going on there. So that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
A big deal.
So yeah, he's going to come on the show. So if you guys don't subscribe or like, please go do. You're helping me out. It's a channel that I've been trying to build for the last 2 years for CrossFit, and it's been super fun. So if all you guys, you Sevenistas, I believe what you call yourselves, if you do show up, I can't wait. And if you do, please be on your somewhat best behavior.
Oh, man. I'm going to hop in tomorrow, and I'm just going to stir the pot.
Yeah, if you guys ask some good questions, I'll in there. But yeah, that'll be tomorrow, Wednesday, the official announcement of the behind the scenes for the CrossFit Games. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, totally. I'm stoked for him.
Yeah, super stoked. All right, back to, I do have one more question for you regarding the details that we've had so far. And this is a question I saw come up on I believe it was the CrossFit Games update show last Friday on Savon's podcast. And I believe Aaliyah Miller had made a post about this, is that, okay, let's look at all the announcements so far. We have Helen version of. That's the most details we've got. We don't know what, and we don't know when. We have bike. There's going to be a bike event. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know when it's going to be. And then we have this whole thing that we've been centering around, this Venn diagram promotional content for the games, starting with 5K. Details, what it's going to be, when it's going to be. Not necessarily where. We don't know where, but we know exactly what it's going to be. It says 5K run. And then we had the next announcement was Olympic total. We know it's 2 attempts per lift, 20 seconds per attempt. How they're going to score that, I don't know if it completely says, but I'm assuming, what would you...
Well, if they call it total, I'm assuming that they're going to add it together.
Like they do the CrossFit total.
Right.
They add all the weights together. Okay, we have that. And then the third piece of the puzzle that they've been just alluding to and getting us all hyped up is like, okay, it's got to be gymnastics. It's just sitting there. It says gymnastics. What's it going to be? Boom, post gymnastics skills tests going to happen. When? Didn't say. Okay. What? Also won't say. What are your thoughts on them telling you exactly what the weightlifting thing is going to be, exactly what the monostructural is going to be, and not telling you what the gymnastic skills test is going to be?
Yeah, I don't like it. I think that
the expansion of like why you don't like this, and potentially why this, it seems somewhat unfair. I hate using the word fair, but do you get what I'm saying? Is like, okay, hey, if I'm the 5K specialist, I'm like, cool, I know how long it's going to be. It's not going to be a weight vest, I don't think, right? You can always do a CrossFit Games twist. Let's throw that out there, right? Nothing is for 100% certain, but I get what I'm doing. Let me get my pacing down again. Let me refresh that. Oh, it's a snatch and clean. Okay, let me practice. 2 and 2, 2 and 2. All right, let me do a time frame. Okay, I get 20 seconds. Let's do one every 2 minutes and see how I do. Let's do one every 5 minutes. Let's do warm up, 15-minute cold turkey break, and then do this. And then maybe a 10-minute break. Like, you get to tinker. Gymnastic skills, nothing.
None.
You get
none. The only thing you have is what videos that they put on there. And I think that when we think gymnastic skills, a lot of times it would be things that you see on the post when they had Danielle Brand. I mean, that's what they showed. They showed Danielle doing the handstand walk. So my instinct is that it would go to that. My issue is just like what you're saying, you don't really know what it is, but then maybe it's not something, like there are events that they don't want you to know. They want you to kind of adapt on the fly, or you didn't get to pull the funky sled that we had in the semis. You just have to kind of figure it out as you go. That might be one of the elements that they're trying to do. So they don't want to give that.
Yeah.
They don't want you to know what your L sit is. They don't want you to know what your L sit on the rings or hanging L sit or P-bar walking L sits or whatever, whatever it might be. They don't want you to play with it because they want you to figure it out when you get there. Or they want to tell you later, like at the dinner that they have, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, and your test will be blah, blah, blah. I know that they play that piece. They've always done an element of that you don't really know. And just to your point here, VJ, is it is inconsistent, but that's part of what the games is about. They don't give you everything.
Here's a good question.
Jackie
Miley, but can you get better? Or that's because you can get better at it in 2 weeks, right?
Some things,
so can everybody
absolutely,
else with the other two single modalities,
right? Exactly. And so that's what makes me the old school CrossFit games would be like tough. Yeah, but I could do better. They'd be like, so just
they also
do it.
Can announce any other ones too.
Well, no, I agree. I mean, they would bleed things out. They definitely have thrown these other, the other elements out, which I think is good. It's important that they kick some stuff out. But real fast, would you rather know all the events or none of the events before you went into the competition?
None.
Because then you can't worry about it.
No, and that and I know people are on either side of the fence of the unknown and unknown element at the games or our sport, which that is our sport. It's our training methodology. It's at the core. It's in our DNA. General physical preparedness for the unknown and unknowable. I love the element of not knowing.
Right.
I think it puts people on a more even plane to compete. Everybody gets this at the same time. Who's the best at it without being able to game each other to death?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question though.
Well, I mean,
people that are on the complete other side of the fence.
Well, because they're talking about it being sport,
right?
And if it's sport, then you want everyone to be the top element, Yeah,
right. It's not like basketball, baseball, or football, but like this is our sport. It's CrossFit, the sport of CrossFit. Do we need to change everything because people want it to be like other sports?
Right. Well, like this comment here. So like, it's like showing up to a horseback riding event and never riding a horse. Well, no, that's the only thing you do is ride a horse. So it's different from that because we do all of that thing. We might have horse riding in ours. I mean, who's to say that there's nothing within our definition of what we're trying to figure out that wouldn't be the case. And this is something I actually got into a discussion on when we were talking about the last show, when we did the last show, when I was talking about the shooting event.
Yes.
How I didn't think that it was appropriate as a qualifier to the games, but I think it would be much more appropriate. Not that I think it's the greatest event ever made or anything like that, but much more appropriate at the games because everyone is already there. And when people say that, shooting doesn't showcase fitness, again, we can't fall into what might be flashy on stage or what we like at the gym of lifting big weights and doing ring muscle ups and all these like handstand walks, whatever. Those are kind of flashy. But if you look at our 10 physical traits, accuracy is on there. And where else do you have accuracy? Like what else do we do with accuracy? Throw a med ball over a line or at a 10-foot target that's as big as the ball. Like that's not accuracy. You know what I mean? Like you can look at some of the other elements. We talk about accuracy and hitting your lift a particular way or where you bring the bar up to the hip crease so that it hits right so that you can get the better lift. There's that. But, there are Olympic events that use that as an event. You know what I mean? So it's an element. Yeah. It's an element. Yeah. Not to say that it is more important than anything, but it's an element on our definition of our 10 physical traits. So if it's in there, I mean, we should have something like that in there. So riding a horse isn't out of the realm of possibility, but it also means that we have a lot of other things that we can play with. It isn't that you need to know every single thing you're gonna do, because then it's not. I think it takes a little bit of that unknown and unknowable out of it a little bit. Okay. So
I hope there's no horseback riding or shooting. I'll just throw that out there.
Well, I'm not saying that I want that. I'm just saying that it's available.
I just had to put it out there.
I'm just saying it's available. That's all.
For the question in there, Greg didn't define accuracy, but is defined by basically Dynamax's the ability to control movement in a given direction or at a given intensity. If anybody would like to. Oh, I didn't pull that up. There
it is.
Totally off topic. Well, it's actually on topic. This is just my brain where it goes. I'm like, how could we test accuracy outside of wall balls? But I was like, I don't know. There's a pretty good one. And what if they had like a wall ball tree where you had to go like 9 feet, 10 feet, 11 feet, 12 feet, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. And if you didn't get it, you had to start all over again.
Awesome.
Isn't that be cool?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Freaking awesome. I mean, that if you wanted to test accuracy at the highest level, which that doesn't get gimmicky, a vertical target tree.
I would re-say that at our level.
At our level, yes.
Because if you're talking about at the highest level, then you're talking like sniper shooting, dart throwing in our CrossFitting realm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, there's not a whole lot out there yet, but still a lot of things out there to talk about. Is what we wanted to do today, is like go through the diagram, its value, its importance, maybe the symbolism with, not symbolism, but the size,
graphicness of it. What does it look? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And why it's important. Your hopes and dreams of where things land and what they're going to be, obviously is something that we're still waiting to see. And I'm curious to see what it all shakes out and where it's placed. We'll see.
I'm wondering if I'm wondering if, because it's a skills test, there would have to be some sort of a time frame. Like if you're doing something like the handstand hold. Okay. Well, how long do you need to make that block? If you have someone that maybe can go, I mean, we've seen what it looked like before, but maybe someone can go 3 minutes. Someone maybe can go 5 minutes. Who knows? L-sit, same type of thing. If Greg Glassman is saying that we should be able to do 3 minutes of an L-sit, that's going to affect. So maybe they're not saying because they're testing it a particular way to see what it looks like, to make sure that they're able to get all the pieces ready. Because that they test all the way. I mean, all the way up. That demo team.
Oh yeah.
Isn't just to show the event to everyone what they're doing.
Well, and that's part of it too, is like why certain things aren't announced, because they still are.
They gotta make sure it's gonna work.
Yeah.
I mean, gotta make sure it's gonna work.
I don't think it's like this now. I mean, I'm not behind the scenes, but we have been at the games. This is Carson era.
Right.
Where we're like, hey, we're on in 60 seconds. And someone comes in with a handwritten piece of paper of what the event is.
Yeah. This is the new distance. What?
Okay, last question before we hop off. Barkley Dale. By the way, if you guys don't know Barkley, he's one of those CrossFit sport nerds, and I say that with all endearment, and I'm sure he will accept it. That does a lot of work with Mike Halpin and Brian Friend. He's got some articles in BeFriendlyFitness.com that he's been putting together. He does a lot of great work in the space, so shout out to him. He says, odds the single modalities have a wrench to level the field. Example, only total is with odd objects, kettlebells or dumbbells. 5K has a cap on the first mile, a la Jackie Pro. And gymnastics is something simple, like a handstand walk, or, you could put like certain distance or a number of times you can come down. Do you think what are the chances of everything that we've been told, there's still games twists on the horizon for them?
I don't think that those ones will be twisted. I think that the way that they're set up and what's coming out, a simple 5K, I mean, just for the reason we were talking about today, and actually, and I'm not a fan of running by any means. I mean, I ran because I had to cut weight. That was the only time that I really ran. So I look at that, and even, through our discussion today, the idea of it just being a all-out not weighted, not fancy, no wrench, no anything. I like that idea even more. So for me, the simpler these things are, the better. The lift will be the lift, I think.
Yeah.
And the run will be the run, and the gymnastic pieces, that's why I think will be L sit for time, and I think it'll be unbroken ring muscle ups, and I think it'll be I don't know, something else like that, but something like that. Handstand hold, handstand push-ups, whatever. Max.
I was talking to JR earlier today, and his conspiracy theory is that all the events are actually going to be the benchmark tests that they ask us to fill out during the game season that nobody fills out. So it's a ploy to get everybody's details. Everyone's going to get weighed and measured for weight and height that compete at the CrossFit Games. So we have accurate data there. They're going to run a 5K, do the Filthy 50, max deadlift, Helen, fight gun bad, back squat, clean and jerk, snatch, Fran, Grace, 400-meter sprint, and 1 attempt at max and broken pull-ups. That's his conspiracy theory. And I was like, you know what? That's a good way of all of us finally putting our damn data into the use it for something. So
it's a building year. It's a building year.
Yeah, building year. But all right, gang, thank you for joining us today. Had some fun spitballing with you guys. We'll see if we got some other news coming up between now and the weekend. But other than that, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow on the CrossFit Games podcast, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Savon will be on where we will be announcing the official behind the scenes coming back to the CrossFit Games. And if you're going to be in Madison next week, Friday night, come to the RV park with Craig Howard and Dale King Friday night, because we're going to kick back and have some beers with some OG crew. And there may be a special guest that evening. Maybe the most special guest you could possibly think of for an OG party. That's all we're going to say. Until next time, I'll replay the intro.
Short one or long one?
Long one again.